One of the really creative and useful types of graphics that you can create with MoonPixlar is an Amazon product ad. Instead of relying on Amazon or even a plugin to create an affiliate ad for you, you can actually create these yourself and throw some creativity and usefulness into them to truly come up with something that nobody else is going to have. These can help to get the attention of your Amazon site visitors as well. Now, to create one of these, I'm actually not going to be using any of the pre-built templates. I'm going to be creating a custom graphic this time. I will call this one Pins on Ad because I'm going to create this for a down comforter. Now the first thing that I want to do is to set a size for this image. I'm going to go with 300 by 250. This is something that is small enough to be sitting on the left or the right hand side of a page that also has other content to go with it. It might even be suitable to fit in the sidebar of your website. Now my goal here is to create a two-part advertisement. Half of it's going to be information heavy and the other half of it is going to be graphic heavy. So to start with, I'm going to go for the graphic part. And what I'm going to do is find a background that is related to my product. Now I can find something within the system here that's in this list, or I can search for something. I could also go to Google to find a background image if I needed to. I could even go to Amazon. For example, if this is the product that I'm going to be creating an ad for, I could save this image right here and try to use that as my background. However, you do not have to do that. I'm actually going to use something that is already in this system. I'll search for bed and see if it turns up anything useful. Here we go, this one looks like a good fit. Now this background image, when I add it and click on it, you can see it's taking up my entire advertisement. But what I'm actually going to be doing is chopping off part of this image. I also want to kind of draw my focus in a little more on the bed itself. So what I'm going to do is shrink my box right here just a little bit. And I'm going to drag it down onto the bed portion. This gives me more of a centered view on the bed itself. Eliminates some of the other background stuff, also zooms the image in, and ultimately the parts that I want to be in focus, they're in the top 2/3 or so of this picture. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is to start to build on top of this background. Go ahead and enlarge this. I'll put it at 200% just so this is a little closer and easier to see for the rest of this process. The next thing I'm going to do is begin to build on the bottom half of the ad. To do this, I'm going to go to Shape, and then I'm going to go to Basic Shapes, and I want to select this large gray rectangle. I want to pull this down to the bottom and cover up an area roughly about a third or so in size of this overall image. And then I want to drag the right box and I want to extend this so this gray box covers the entire bottom part of the image as so. Then I want to change the color and set it to white. Once I've set this box to make it white, you can now see it's blotting out the bottom part as it was before, except now I have a solid white box instead of a solid gray box. And if needed, you can adjust this box up and down as so to either reveal more of the image that is up above and or to make more or less room in the white space down below. So now I want to start building on top of this two-part advertisement even more so. Down in the bottom, I'm going to have information for the product. So I'm going to select medium text. I probably could have done with the small text actually. That is quite all right. I'm going to put this as something fairly basic. Arial text should do it. And then simply reduce the size of this text. Finally, I'm going to set the color to black. And then here I'm going to be typing in the name and maybe even a brief description to go along with it for what this product really is. Once I can kind of see how much space I have to work with, I can make this text a little larger or smaller if need be. I can make it bold to make it stand out a little bit better. I try to get it to take up a decent amount of the horizontal space that you have available here. So now we have a name. Next up, we have this additional white space down at the bottom. For here, I'm going to repeat the same process with text this time, except now I'm going to set a price. This part is maybe the one part out of all that I've showed you here where you could definitely decide to make some adjustments to how you do this. When you put a price onto your product, you're kind of committing yourself to maintaining that price. For Amazon terms of service, you should technically even put some text down below that states the current date and time that you're quoting this price at. As of this date and time on, this day at this time. That way people can tell how recent or up to date that price is. If you're not going to want to do that, if you have no intention on ever trying to update this image or something like that, you may want to just leave the price completely off of it. Now I'm going to go to shape and I'm going to type in Amazon. You actually have a nice variety of Amazon logos and images and things of that nature that you can use in this software. So I could take this Amazon logo, for example, and I could put it down here in the bottom middle. I can make this as small or as large as needed. If I wasn't going to have a price at all, let's do this one. Let's do this without a price, just to show you. I could simply have the Amazon logo a little larger, taking up the left-hand side of it. And then I have something else that's going to be going on the right-hand side now. For the right-hand side, I want to create an add to cart button. Now they do have some buttons that are already built into this software. However, while they have things like Shop Now, they don't have an add to cart button. They do have PayPal buttons and sale tags and things of that nature. But again, I don't believe I've been able to find an actual add to cart button. So that's not a problem at all. I just create one myself. To create my own add to cart button, I start out with a basic shape. I add in this large gray rectangle, and I'm going to shrink this down to where it's not very tall. And then I'm going to stretch it out just a little bit more, like so. You want to kind of center this box within whatever kind of blank area you have left down here at the bottom. So if you end up putting a price here, you have Amazon logo in the middle. You can even just use the A logo instead of the full Amazon word, and then you have your buy button off to the right. Here we have a little more room to work with, so I have a little bit of space in between all this. Now what I'm going to do is click on this gray box, and I'm going to set a custom color. I want to find an orange color. I click on an orange over here on the right, and then I take it all the way up on the top line, close to the right, but not all the way, and just click on that spot. It'll create this nice little orange bar for you. Then what I do is add text on to the top of it. I can make this text black. Resize it so it takes up a decent amount of the space here. And then you also want to try to get it centered within that area. Although, before you center it, definitely good to change the text on it because it can be a slightly different size. Now this is kind of the basic version of the add to cart button. However, you can go a little more complicated than this if you would like to. do this, we're simply going to create another one of these rectangles like what we've created here. So I'm going to do the same thing yet again. We want to put it on top of our Add to Cart button. And then finally, we're going to click down on the layer button 2 times. Now, depending on exactly how you got this set up, it may or may not need a couple of minor adjustments. What you're basically looking to do is to get a border showing up on all sides of that button. And you do that by making the second rectangle, the gray one, a little bit larger in all directions than the Add to Cart button. So then it's sitting behind it. So all you see is the outline. So it just kind of makes the Add to Cart button stand out just a bit. Now again, that part's kind of optional. It does take a little bit of maneuvering, as you can see, to get that put into place. But overall, it's not too bad. Now the last part of this involves spicing up the top portion. What you can do is get product images from Amazon, for example. Try to find one that has a blank background, preferably, and save it to your computer. So view it, save the image as. Then come back over into MoonPixlar, go to Image, and upload that image to get it into the system. Once you get it uploaded, you'll be able to find it both during that project and in future projects in the upload area here. So you can just simply click on that product image and it will add it in to your project, as you can see. Well, this particular image that I have is much larger than even my whole project here. So what I need to do is shrink it down a size. I'm focusing only on one of the corners here to shrink this down, otherwise it's going to mess up the proportions. So I'm looking to scale this down to make it small and fit over here on the right hand side, like so. The next thing that I want to do is to add a little bit of a caption onto this. So I'm going to go to text, and I'll go with a big text this time, even though I don't need it quite that big. Looking for a text that I can use here that is fairly large, thick, but also pretty clear to see as well. This one looks good. So now I'm going to type in the basic name of the product. Pins on Primaloft. And I'm going to drag this over here to right up above this image. Now, depending on how you situate your background for this image, you may need to make some adjustments at this point to try to get everything fitting good and looking nice. What I'm going for here is I'm trying to still maintain the focus of my picture here, the actual bed, and even some of the stuff that's on the bed is just helping to kind of set the scene. And then I'm also looking for kind of a nice clean area where I can have this text and the image being displayed at. So something like so. Preferably, I'd like to have a little bit more of this gray area right here. One of the things that you can do, instead of relying on MoonPixlar to do the centering for you, you can actually do that manually. If I create a duplicate part of that text, make it a little smaller here. So I create a duplicate piece of text here. This way, I can do the alignment myself. And most importantly, I choose how much space there is in between each of these words here. This gives me complete control over the actual location. So now this text and this image almost kind of looks like it goes with it. But at the very, very least, I want the text that I'm showing to be easy to read. I don't want to have people struggling to kind of pick the text out from the background. You want this to be standing on an opposite colored background, if at all possible. That way people can clearly see it. They can notice at a quick glance what this ad is for, and they can also easily see the add cart button and things of that nature. So there you can see, fairly simple to put together once you understand the whole process to go through. But overall, it's a pretty professional looking advertisement. And so you can create this kind of stuff for your product review sites to simply have as a sidebar ad for particular products on your niche site. Wherever you would normally put Amazon ads, you can create this type of ad. And it also gives you an extra unique image to be including on your page to help with your search rankings.